Thank you so much for tuning in to Awakening with Katina Love and segment on Inspiration Sunday. We are a conscious talk show to learn about self empowerment, the law of attraction, creating financial abundance, and natural health. Please like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Awakening with Katina Love. Our special guest today is Malcolm Hendricks. Today's subject, we're going to talk about the art of self discovery. Malcolm, thanks so much for being the guest today. How are you?
Oh, you're certainly welcome, and I'm great, Katina. And how are you?
I am beautiful. I'm doing great. So,
Hmm.
I'm really excited about today's show, and I'm excited to connect with you once again. I had a really profound experience with you. Um, we met last year at one of the Shift Holistics gatherings down at the Ferris wheel, downtown Flint. And I met you then, but I'm going to tell you, it's not the meeting of a person, it's actually connecting with you. So we met then, but we actually connected this year. And last month we met at the Holistic Chamber meeting with Jenny, the founder of Shift Holistics. But I'm going to tell you, just actually, I really got to know you last month at this meeting. And when we left the meeting, we had a really deep conversation. You really just blew my mind. I just have to tell you. I mean, just your energy, your presence, your wisdom, and your insight and your ability to connect with people and reach people on the soul level is just simply amazing. And that's rare that we find that this day and age where we connect with each other. Not, it's not just a surface thing. It's not just a regular general conversation. It's a deep connection with the soul of the person that you're connecting with. And, that led me to want more of that type of experience. So I actually booked a session with you. We met at Barnes and Noble, and then that took it up to another level. So I just want to say that you really helped me in those two times of engaging with you in conversation. You really caused me to go deeper within myself. And I'm already a deep person, but you helped me to really tap into that genius inside of me, that energy, that life force that's within inside of all of us. You just helped me to go within, and you ask questions that most people don't ask. Even with all the different coaches and mentors that I've had, you just your level of consciousness is just amazing. And I just want to say to you, I had a hard time even just putting this into words as we speak right now. It's just that the experience of connecting with you, the experience of connection in itself is just a beautiful, beautiful experience. And you have helped me so much to tap into who I am and to learn who I am even more. So thank you.
Wow.
How did I get
Can
that out?
we, should we change this whole process? And can I rather ask you the questions about your experience and you talking about me? That was incredible. Thank you.
Okay, sure. Absolutely.
That was so well said. The
Okay.
art of communication.
Yes, the art of communication. I love that. That's even better. That's what it is, right?
Oh, it is. It is.
So, am I going to ask you the question or are you going to ask me or what? What do you?
I would love to ask you some more, but we've prepared for you to ask. And if we need to go into another 2 hour segment, I'd be happy to do that. So, whichever way you prefer.
Okay, I'm just so like excited about this because I'm really into self-discovery, self-empowerment, embracing who we are, tapping into that inner love within ourselves. That's what I'm all about, because as a coach, when I coach people, that's what I'm about. Just helping people to go within and to tap into their greatness, embrace who they are, and just be our true, authentic selves. That's why we're
Right,
here. And
right.
so I'm just so intrigued. It's like, what led you to your path of self discovery?
That's the most difficult question to answer if one hasn't reached a point of discovery. But what that
Hmm.
point of discovery looks like, it's almost unique to each person. Um, and to find that point, I would say, is almost impossible as well. Um, but the journey towards self-discovery happens by default,
Hmm.
because no one can take you on your journey into yourself to understand that every struggle, every thought, every bit of how you engage your world, even in relation to your senses, contributes to that path. And then how to process that from your point of view, process it from what comes your way, process
Hmm.
it from what you impart and how you respond, creates the real dynamic that puts the pieces to the puzzle. But that's a lifelong journey, an absolute lifelong journey. And if one has never embraced the beauty of struggle,
Hmm.
I think self-discovery will never be encountered.
Wow, isn't that something? Is it because if you don't have that struggle, you won't know how you can be led to self
If
discovery?
you if you if you don't love self, if you don't love the struggle, if you don't see perspective differently to what your reality is, you'll
Hmm.
never change your reality into your true self. For instance, if you're a little child, everything you experience is it virtually comes your way. There's no processing, there's no conscience, there's no
Right?
awareness.
Hmm.
We just go.
Right.
Monkey see, monkey do. What mommy and daddy says.
Yeah.
Um, if we're fortunate even to have those parental guidance or guiding.
Hmm.
But as a child, our core brilliance and genius is virtually evidenced in us between birth and, let's say, and I don't know the facts, but let's say 8 years old, where we're in our most natural state.
Yes.
But everything from birth is what we are taught, and taught to become, and picking up habits, which all those learnings leads us to altered states of reality. Then we go into starting from there on, starting the journey, and we experience deeper, and realities have a different taste and feel to it, and things just come our way, where we start the journey to dependence, which virtually starts at the age of about 12 to 13, some form of dependence, detachment, wanting to do ourselves, but without having any idea with what to do with what comes our way. And the deepest struggle that we can encounter is between the age of 16 to 23, where we go from that childhood state into a formative adulthood state, but the
Hmm.
most chaotic phase
Right.
of our lives. That all that happens in that phase and all that we have to embrace to become a part of this world and be successful in this world virtually hides our true identity. And off we start in this journey to life, but with a myriad of experiences that we haven't even looked at that constitutes who we are. Um, for us to understand the very essence of who we are. And so life continues, and so we're told.
Wow. That is amazing. So that explains why they call that the adolescent years. That explains why that is the most difficult time of life for a lot of people. That explains it, right?
Yes, as well as, and it's most difficult because people don't have time to embrace that time of life. Some
Uh-huh.
of us get through it okay. Some of us get through it great, where by virtue of challenges and circumstance we have to overcome, and some are able to ride the system. But there's a host of us who do not,
Uh-huh.
and we become oppressed as a result of that, and we are left behind in our true selves. And the
Wow.
journey to self-discovery is forever lost to most of us.
Right. Do you mind if I ask you what your life was like during that time?
Oh, which time?
During that adolescent between 16 and 23?
I can absolutely tell you. And here's the beauty of self-discovery, that when you start looking at yourself in relation to who you were then,
Mm-hmm.
you have to get a picture of yourself as to who you were then, but in relation as to how you see yourself now.
Mm-hmm.
As opposed to you beating yourself over the head and still being stuck in those formative years, in those years where emotionally our reality, our energy, as held us hostage to that period of time. So the most important thing to that period of time is to embrace it,
Mm-hmm.
see it for what it was, see it for how it's contributed to who we are now, and to love ourselves for that time period of our lives, and to connect all the dots. And connecting the dots from as early on as one can remember in telling the story, but with flow and energy. And I'm going to throw many terms out
Okay.
at you that you'll understand. I
Mm-hmm.
mentioned detached, I'm mentioning flow and energy, and all these things are key components to playing sport, but it's virtually the flow and energy to your life.
Mm-hmm.
And how you connect dots, and how one experience leads to the other, even though you're following it by instinct without any design. And once you start embracing the energy, you'll see the flow with the dots connecting, and the connecting of dots becomes the basis to your self-awareness. And it's within that where your power, the power to you, who you are, exists.
Wow, that is amazing.
So you asked the question. Let's go back to the question as well, because that was just a preface of what it is you're saying. What was your question again, so
Sure.
I can understand, so I can embrace the energy of what it is you wanted to talk into?
Yes. And then you just saying that embrace the energy of it. How often do we not take the time to do that or not even be conscious that we should do that?
In
You know?
understanding our energy, because if you're dead, you do not have energy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So the question was, what was your life like back as an adolescent between the ages of 16 to 23?
And I'm going to say it to you in very, I'm going to try and shorten it just in terms of time. And please cut me when we get to time, but I can hold
Sure.
you hostage. I can hold you hostage to this for quite a while. I actually told the story to a business partner of mine
Mhm.
in the week in relation to what it is. Like, I grew up very, very complex, in a very complex family, where my dad, I call him, he was a rolling stone.
Okay. Mhm.
Also genius in his ability to inspire and motivate others.
Mhm.
And my mom, the total opposite. He was the public identity, and my mom, the total opposite, being very quiet, the most quiet and peaceful person and unimposing person you can imagine. Polar opposites.
Wow.
Then with me being a middle child, with my brother in his brilliance as well, being a semi-professional musician, he's able to
Mhm.
play any musical instrument and play jazz, and self-taught. And just the discipline and hours and hours of learning that he's put into that, that I walked in his shadow wanting to be like him. But it's
Mhm.
also that shadow and under his wing that protected me while my dad was on his stage performing. And my dad led us in front of crowds and on stage performing, competing all my life. And the communications I had with my dad was in the third person through other people's ears and eyes and minds, where they spoke of him, even though I saw him, visibly saw him right in front of me. He never spoke to me directly, just
Wow.
because of the nature of being under his instruction all the time, but with a group of people. And then I have my sister, who's younger and who's um, in her own right as dynamic as can be. And here's what's unusual, that my mom and dad's characteristics are all embodied in my brother, I, and my sister, in our unique identities, and each one has a separate component of them. And with me being a middle child,
Mm-hmm.
I'm the perfect blend between my dad and my mom's characteristics, and I finally understand the beauty of that right now.
Wow, that's amazing.
So how
Ooh.
I grew up,
Yeah.
pardon me.
I was just going to say, how did you realize, when did you realize that? All of
Oh,
that.
I only started, the more I started loving me, the more I could
Mm.
see me in relation to them, as opposed to rejecting me because I couldn't
Ah,
process me. I never, just direct pointers that comes to mind in relation to that. I never could embrace my name. I was removed from my name, and when people used to mention my name, I used to squirm, because I
mm,
wasn't one with my name, and there was
got it.
no identity in it. And that was virtually how identityless I was when I grew up, locked in my mind, hidden behind egos that I assumed, other people's identities,
Mm-hmm.
together with an identity, a public identity of being on stage, being a musician without having a stage presence at all.
Ah,
So imagine playing in front of a crowd of 1,000 people shouting your name, and you just standing there. What do I do with this? As a young child, in all this
uh-huh.
complexity, not being able to process it, right?
Right. Oh, wow.
Following the picture?
Yeah, I can only imagine. Wow, it's
and
amazing.
and so this is starting at about 16, 17, but also having been performing before that as a musician. So I play, in terms of the performance side, being my dad, I played 10 different sports, all self-taught, as well as 3 musical instruments, being a saxophone, cello, and pan flute, all self-taught, teaching myself jazz to want to be like my brother. So that was my sort of trying to be on the stage that I couldn't um, present myself to, but yet that was my reality, being on the stage. And then 17 at school, and here's the how did I grow up? Here's the epitome of that question. My final year of school, and not being able to process me based on my complexity and how my mind couldn't embrace my deep sense of struggled emotional intelligence, which is the key basis to me. I could never process things intellectually because my nature's emotional intelligence, and which is a higher form of intelligence, that, as opposed to just intellectualizing something. And my last year of school, I had to write an English paper,
Mm-hmm.
and I couldn't fabricate a story. I still cannot, because I cannot fashion things in my mind, but when I
Mm-hmm.
feel it, I can put words to it and through my mind.
Wow.
But never understood that when I was younger, and no one to speak directly to me, let alone understanding, let alone my parents not knowing the complexity, no school counseling, absolutely nothing,
Wow.
as opposed to me just wafting along and floating through this world of what I see, but not being able to relate to, because what I saw in my inner world didn't match to the outer world.
Oh,
You understand
wow.
that?
Yeah, that's
So my
amazing.
last year, of school, I had to write this paper. I'm from South Africa, and if you failed a language, we had to do 2 languages at school. You failed the entire year.
What?
And this paper was the key component, and I wrote this paper, and I failed English.
Wow. So you have to
And
repeat
and
the
I
same grade again?
and I didn't graduate. Done, to enter this whole new world.
Amazing. That is amazing. Just
So
imagine how many kids
how
do.
does one? What's that?
I was just thinking back to, how many kids deal with their inner world not matching the outer world, not knowing that it's not supposed to. right? On some level.
Absolutely. Depending, and especially if you take into account how brilliantly we've been created. But who makes sense of it as a child, right? So
Absolutely.
your genius you mentioned earlier on is where? It's locked up and hidden in you. And how do you bring it out other than by unraveling? So let me answer your question. Did I graduate? No, I didn't graduate then because I failed. And I failed English because I couldn't express myself, because
Oh,
my mind couldn't match
yeah.
my feelings and my emotion and my all that inner world stuff to bring it out of me.
Oh,
So
wow. So
this
really
starts my
you,
journey.
I want to say
Pardon
this,
me.
really you did not fail. They failed you.
You can say that,
You're
but let
the
me tell the
genius.
story.
You're
Would
the
you like me to
genius.
tell the story?
Yes. Yes. Go
So
for it.
yes, I failed. I failed. No instruction, and I have to go and find work. And my first job, they didn't accept me because they thought I was overqualified, and which was a blessing in disguise. So remember, all things work together for good,
Yeah.
if you can see it as such, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And you have to take time to process and embrace things. And so, turned down for that. And my mother was fortunate to arrange an interview with me with the largest insurance company in South Africa, which I interviewed with. An interview, they asked me how much I wanted to earn per month. And I said I wanted to earn, which is almost 30, 40 years ago now, in relation to South African Rand, without thinking. No one told me this. And
Mm,
I had to think on the spot. Remember, this non-existent kid had to go and present myself to the real world. And
mm.
I said, pay me 270 Rand a month, a month.
Wow.
It's probably what people earn a day, could have earned a day. I said that because not knowing the value of money. And I said that 270 Rand a month. But when I pass and when I redo that exam, I want you to increase it.
Mm-hmm.
And what is most fascinating about that story, if I look back at it now, that no one has told me to present myself like that. I had to think that, and it was probably the most turning point genius comment I could ever have made that turned my life around. Long and the short of it is I passed that exam. 5 years later, went to university after my working stint when my eyes finally opened. Remember, 16 to 23. At
Mm-hmm.
23, my eyes opened. I went to university on an age exemption, and did a bachelor's degree in English and psychology. Flew through the degree.
Wow.
Wanted to become a clinical psychologist. Didn't, because I found psychology to be abstract. Did a teaching diploma in my fourth year, and went to go and teach English at the feeder school to the University of Cape Town in South Africa, to
Wow.
change that reality in that experience that could have fashioned my life totally differently if I didn't make a decision to say, pay me X amount,
Mm-hmm.
and when I do graduate, you can pay me more. And that was the pivotal point in my life.
Oh my God, that is just amazing.
Now, how does one take time to interpret all that energy hidden in that story of a young man looking at my thinking, how I felt when I failed, being the only one in my grade who failed, and then to embark on this journey in life? Now, if you want to talk about what led to the path of self-discovery,
Yes,
there was the starting point.
that is amazing. That is truly amazing. So, fast forwarding to when you became an adult, well, 23, you are an adult, but later in life, let's just say.
A child adult, because you look at from a man's point of
Uh-huh.
view, at
Uh-huh.
24 or 25, your conscience starts kicking in. And then when that happens, you're virtually on your way downhill. You start dying out mentally
Uh-huh.
and emotionally, because by that stage, you should be well on your way to the path of life. So my brother, being a child prodigy in music, and him having been able to interpret that, he plays semi-professionally in the Cape Town Symphony Orchestra. Remember my dream of that? Um,
Mhm.
Plays in the orchestra, plays big band music, first trumpeter, also having started a big band, but it's all, and he's done it all his life.
Wow.
And me being a late bloomer,
Hmm.
my journey only starts now.
Wow. How beautiful.
And I think I'm about 20 years older than you are as well.
Oh, really? I would have never
I think.
guessed that. Never. I would have never guessed that. Amazing.
I said I think.
Okay. 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 Wow. Let's talk about emotional intelligence for a little bit. Can you
Oh,
explain
my
to us?
favorite subject. My favorite subject.
Let's talk about it.
Yes.
What
Do you
is
have a question, or shall I just ask about it?
Yeah, what is emotional intelligence? Because most people are unaware of what that is.
Emotional intelligence is simply your own awareness of yourself, the emotions of others, how you process it, and how you engage it in your reality. So everything that we do is either by virtue of our thought process or our feelings or emotions. So let me just go quickly into explaining sort of flow and energy and zones. Can I do that?
Yeah, totally.
Just quickly. So we talk about the chakras. So I'm not going to go to the chakras because it's not my area of expertise, but I just want to reference the zones. So your first zone, let's say it's your conscious mind, which you also then have your heart, the basis to your heart. You have a left and right brain as well in your heart area where you process emotions, but deeper than your emotions are your feelings, and below your feelings you have your instinct and your intuition, and you add energy to your instinct, you virtually engage in your intuition. So you're starting deep down in your energy zones, just below the belly button, if you can feel it over there, which taps into your feelings. And most people's feelings are shut down. Remember all those experiences that I've had in my lifetime?
Right.
And my age that I'm at right now, if I have never processed those feelings to create my self awareness, my experiences in relation to my feelings, my emotions would have been shut down, and your emotions are simply deeper feelings which have been processed, which becomes the seat to your let's say your heart, your not the physical heart, but
Hmm.
the heart and the mind one talks of. And so emotional intelligence is the feelings and your emotions where you can see a situation, interpret and process it, for you to naturally engage you, but through your way it's fueled through your mind, as opposed to you living through conscious mind robotically. So your emotions, so you have your interpretation and your awareness, and that brings out your deeper energy in expressing yourself naturally, but it's also where it is you can be you in connecting and engaging and embracing others into your reality, but also making sense of their reality. And that's the basis of emotional intelligence.
Wow. Amazing. How do we become more aware of that?
You
But it's just
don't,
there.
other than it's very difficult to become aware of it unless you become aware of yourself and you
Uh-huh.
embrace self and start loving self. It's and in that you start, why did I think that? Why did I even respond like that? What was why couldn't I control myself? So it's just getting this self-awareness, and seeing how your energy flows. And as soon as that energy turns sour or becomes blocked, you've heard about your chakras being blocked up, right?
Right, right, right.
And it's simply talking about, where is the block? Why can I not feel? If I tell you
Uh-huh.
something great and you're saying wow, but you cannot tell me how you feel as a result of saying wow, and you're simply saying wow because it's a word, because it's something that triggered your mind,
Right.
then it's like, where are all those energies blocked up? And it's understanding sort of your energy in all the zones that leads to emotional intelligence, which is also the alternative to your conscious form of just natural, your IQ, natural intelligence. You've heard of people having photographic memories. I'm not talking about all of that aspect of intelligence. I'm talking about your real person intelligence, which most are devoid of. So it happens in self, in taking time for self. But our very natures are to be outward thinking. No one does inward thinking. Psychology is all about the mind and abnormal behavior. But no one takes takes note of the inner world and our own inner worlds. And so if I cannot understand me, how on earth am I going to understand you if I've never spent time within myself to embrace me, to be able to see me in you, to be able to unlock you?
Absolutely. I'm totally with you on that. So how does one begin that path of self-discovery?
Impossible to begin it. Other
Impossible to begin.
than, yes, if you take into account all that it is you have to unravel and
Oh,
reset
wow.
and detach from,
Hmm.
it's impossible. However, what you are doing in coaching is the saving grace for most people, because no one will go on this journey. And that's why what you are doing and trying to put all of this together in these programs, I don't know much everything about what you're doing,
Hmm.
but and I'm here putting a pitch in for you,
Yeah.
that if one doesn't have a coach, I'd say it's impossible
Right.
to start this journey. One has to be coached. It's like learning a sport. The
Oh,
top
yeah.
athletes only become the top because they're spending 8-10 hours a day together with and working hard at it with coaches and professionals. Have you had a coach when you were 8 years old?
Little kid, yeah. Yeah.
You had a coach? You had a coach?
Yes, I played
Oh,
volleyball, I played
well,
basketball.
excuse me. Well, excuse me.
But I had no clue, about this life stuff at that age. I just wanted to have
Right.
fun. I was
So,
supposed to be on the team and
right.
a
So the
part of
point is,
something, right?
if you didn't have a life coach at that stage,
No,
but you
no,
had a
no, no,
volleyball coach,
no life coach. No, 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 not at
right?
all.
So and so the point is, if you didn't have a professional volleyball coach at that age, you should have been. If you had one, you should have been a professional. Question is why you're not a professional, right? Because
Right.
that's what professionals do at that age. That's all they do. And there's a book out there, The Talent Code, which talks about the 10,000 hour principle. If you put 10,000 hours into something, you'll master the art. If you put 10 or 100 hours into it, then you become a street busker standing on street corner and singing, because you haven't developed the art and the characteristics to become the master at it. So it's like time and about together with being coached. And to answer your question, if you're not coached, you're never going to find it.
Oh, wow. Isn't that amazing? So just imagine, Malcolm, how many people we have on our planet, 7 billion from what we hear. If that means that almost all of us needs a coach.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, we have some masters like, the monks over in Tibet with my
Right.
knowledge
And
so
coaching,
far,
yes, and
you
coaching
know,
is a different artist. Coaching is a totally different art as well. The basis to coaching is communication. Most coaches don't communicate properly. They can tell you what to do, but they cannot bring you out of you.
bring it
And
out
that's
of
what,
you.
in my mind, separates the true coach. Now, in my humble opinion, as I think, I'm not on the stage that most of these coaches are, and that's not necessarily what I desire, but I coach in my unique way.
And that's what's so beautiful, Malcolm, because I've had a handful of coaches in my life, that actually call themselves coaches. I mean, we all coach each other in some way, but the deeper level of coaching that you offer is just extraordinary, and I've never experienced anything like it. And I believe that I became a different person because of you, a better person, just with
In
those
one lunchtime meeting.
one lunchtime meeting, one little bit over an hour. Now you planted the seed when we all of us met at the event last month. But that was just a little taste of it. It was just like, what? What did he say? I mean, we were talking about that all the next day, like all three of us girls were, right?